All right, today we're diving into a short but really powerful story by A.L. Hendricks called Jamaican Fragment. It's an absolutely brilliant look at how quickly we can jump to these massive conclusions from just a single glance and, the lessons that can come from being so wrong. So the story is told by this narrator who takes the same walk every single morning. And he kicks things off by telling us that these walks aren't just about getting some fresh air. They're where he learns things. This line right here, it totally sets the stage for a huge lesson that comes from the smallest, most ordinary moment. Okay, so here we are on one of these morning walks. The narrator sees something that literally stops him in his tracks. At first glance, it looks like a pretty simple scene, but it quickly becomes something that he just can't wrap his head around. He spots two little boys playing in a garden, and what's really interesting is how his mind immediately starts cataloging their differences. There's the bigger, older boy, who he describes as a strong little Jamaican, and then there's the smaller, younger one who is white. Even though they're dressed the same, that physical contrast is the very first thing that grabs his attention. So as he's watching, he sees the little white boy marching around, kind of acting like a little general, shouting out orders. The first one is simple enough: pick up that stick. And the bigger, dark-skinned boy, well, he just does it. No hesitation, no questions asked. And the commands keep coming. Next up, jump into the flowers. And again, the older, bigger boy just quietly does what he's told by the younger, smaller one. You can just imagine the narrator standing there, completely baffled by this whole dynamic. And this right here, this is the question that starts to eat away at him. He just can't make it make sense. They seem like they're from the same social class, just a couple of kids playing. So why on earth is the black boy acting so submissive? This one question just sends his mind into a total spiral. You see, this little observation doesn't just confuse him. It triggers a full-blown internal crisis. What he saw in that garden starts to poison his entire perspective on the world. He starts projecting these huge, heavy, adult ideas onto what is, just a kid's game. He's wondering if this little boy, at only 5 years old, already has this built-in sense that he's destined for a life of servitude. Is he already learning his place? And his thoughts, they just get darker and darker. He starts questioning if there's some kind of inherent, indefinable quality in whiteness that just naturally asserts dominance, even in a toddler. He's using this one little moment as proof for these awful theories about race and power. And all of this leads him down a rabbit hole to this absolutely devastating question about his own people, about himself. Were we, as a race, really inferior? I mean, wow. It's a moment of just deep, painful self-doubt, and it all started with one single misunderstood glance. And let me tell you, this wasn't just some passing thought. The story makes it clear that for an entire day, this one single incident rocked his faith to its very core. He was completely haunted by that image of the two boys and the terrible story he'd built around it. But then, the next morning rolls around. He's on the same path, and he sees the boys again. He stops, probably expecting to see the same thing, but what he sees instead, it just flips the entire script. He absolutely cannot believe his eyes. The roles are completely 100% reversed. On day 2, it's the little dark boy who's strutting around like he owns the place, and it's the little white boy who's trailing meekly behind him. The master and the servant have totally switched places. So what's the first command he hears from the new boss? Get me a banana. And just like the day before, the servant, who is now the little white boy, scampers off to obey without a second thought. And then comes the follow-up. Peel it for me. The white boy peels the banana and hands it over to his dark master. And in that one instant, a light bulb just goes off in the narrator's head. A huge wave of relief washes over him as he finally gets it. It was just a game. You can just picture him smiling, right? He remembers playing this exact game as a kid. One day you're the master, the next you're the servant. It was just simple, harmless fun. And now, feeling incredibly clever, he thinks he's finally figured out the whole picture. Or so he thinks. So he looks over and sees a white man standing at the gate, also watching the boys. The narrator assumes this guy must be going through the same racist meltdown he had yesterday, just in reverse. So feeling a little smug, he decides he's going to go save the man a day of worry and explain the game. The narrator walks up and starts to explain his brilliant discovery, but the man just looks at him, smiles, and says, "I know all about the game." The way he says it, It's so calm and knowing. The narrator's big revelation is about to get completely overshadowed by a much simpler and way more beautiful truth. And then the man drops the real bombshell. He says the boys aren't just neighbors or playmates, they're brothers. They are his sons. And with that one sentence, every single assumption the narrator had so carefully constructed just shatters into a million pieces. And then, the final, perfect piece of the puzzle. The man points to a beautiful brown woman on the porch, their mother. And just like that, the whole complicated web of race, class, and power that the narrator had spun in his head, it just dissolves. All that's left is this simple, beautiful picture of a mixed-race family. In that moment, the story says the narrator's spirit laughs. He thinks to himself, this is Jamaica. This is my country, my people. So, what's the big takeaway from this amazing little story? Well, first, it's a masterclass on the trap of snap judgments. It shows how dangerous it is to project our own adult baggage, all our biases about race and power and history, onto the innocent world of kids playing. What he saw as this huge historical drama was just a game. And finally, it paints this beautiful, quiet picture of a modern, multicultural Jamaica where a family is just a family, not defined by the rigid lines the narrator first saw. We'll end with the narrator's own conclusion, the question he asks himself after he finally learns the truth. It's a humbling reminder of how quickly we build these complicated, often negative stories in our heads, when the reality is sometimes so much simpler and so much more beautiful. It really makes you think, doesn't it?